will ask you to join me in celebrating the one, the only, the extraordinary Sally Hurst.
Firstly, I want to say just a massive thank you for all of you for coming tonight. It's pretty special not only to have written a book, but to have so many people in the room to celebrate it with. And while I hope you enjoy the drinks that my mum and sister have provided, and all of the food that my uncles have bought as well, there's such a feast up there, and the amazing cake. There are so many incredible people in this room. We have astrophysicists, photographers, farmers, archaeologists, museum folk, so many different people from walks of life. And so thank you all for coming, and I hope you get to mingle with some of these other amazing people in the room as well. As Veronica mentioned, I don't really need to go through this because she covered it better than I ever could. No, this is great. But out of all of these titles, it's been very exciting that in the last week I now get to add author. To some of the main players who made such a difference in this career of paleontology. The first thank you very much has to go to CSIRO Publishing, and especially my editor, Melinda, because this is exactly the email that she sent me. There's no more, no less. Hey Sally, have you considered writing a book? My immediate answer was yes, but also, are you sure you've got the right person? I don't have a PhD. At the time, I didn't really have a job either, so this was very, very amazing as an early career researcher to have something like this be offered to me. But then when the CSIRO Publishing Committee said, yep, we approve your brainstorm of ideas, we then needed to figure out how to turn a master's thesis and some notes that I'd written in the field into, deep breath, a new book. Now, Found Fossil was originally from my master's, and so I have to have a big thank you to the original supervisors. So these are some very cool people. Matt Kosnick does research. He's one of the only remaining paleo people at Macquarie, and his research focuses on invertebrates in the past. He does scuba diving in Sydney Harbour, takes core samples, and looks at how the fauna, the animals reacted to different historical events, including colonisation. Spoiler alert, the invertebrates also did not like that event. Linda Evans is my archaeology supervisor. She also taught me throughout my undergrad degree. It's one of the only subjects where they actually covered a little bit of the protections of natural and cultural heritage around the world. But she's also a queen of interdisciplinary research. One of my favourite examples is that she has a background in animal science as well as Egyptian art. So she has been going into Egyptian tombs, she looks at all of the artwork and she can identify different species and look at their behaviour to see what animals we had around 5,000 years ago. And lastly, Glenn Brock. Glenn is now an honorary professor. He is a grandfather of paleontologists all around Australia. He's a very special guy. He was my advisor all throughout my undergrad degree as well. He gave me lots of advice on how to avoid subjects that had heavy statistics. And I have a very fond memory of him taking over the old graduation hall, running out a line of foil on the ground and getting us to sprint across it, simulating a dinosaur trackway. So it was the only time I've ever used algebra in my life since high school, but we used this equation to figure out the running speed of a dinosaur, i.e. me, based on its trackways, which has really come in handy lately. But Glenn's research focuses on some of the earliest animals on the planet. We call some of these the Cambrian weirdos. They are about 500 million years old, and they're found in places like the Flinders Ranges in South Australia, or I think this one might be from the Burgess Shale in Canada. This is Anomalocaris. This is one of the first predators that we have ever seen on Earth. It was accompanied by other creatures like Luaxia and Hallucigenia, which just makes you ask, what was going on in the Cambrian? A lot of weird things were happening. And they were also accompanied by these fossils, and they're literally just called small shelly fossils. We're not very original with our names. But you can see on that photo on the right that this is a millimetre scale. These things are microscopic. So while they're very important for telling us about the evolution of early animals, I'm really glad that Glenn likes these, so I don't have to. Now, during my Masters, it was very important to me to get the public involved in the big survey that I was doing about what to do if you actually find a fossil. So I did a big road trip around New South Wales to lots of regional museums, and this is where I met the amazing Jenni Brammall from the Australian Opal Centre up in Lightning Ridge. Now, Lightning Ridge is very famous because it's the only spot on Earth where you can find opalised dinosaur fossils. So they're very beautiful, and I was invited to go up on, I won't say a dig, it was more a fossil experience where we would sort through the tailings of some of these old opal mines looking for small fossils like these. Now, this led to a pretty pivotal meeting in my paleontology career, because this is where I met Phil Bell. If you've read the book, you will meet him many times. He's a prominent character. He is an associate professor at the University of New England, and he was also the resident paleontologist on this fossil experience. A few things to note about Phil: he looks more like a surfer than a paleontologist. He also is a surfer, and he detests shoes. So this is us in the field in Canada and in Mongolia, and there is not a shoe in sight. Now, Phil saw how keen I was on this dig, so he invited me to stay for a few extra days and go down into the mines in Lightning Ridge. So descending 18 metres down this very rickety ladder. This hole that you'll see is about 1 metre across. It's very small. But again, he saw how enthusiastic I was, and he then invited me to go to Canada the next year to see some real dinosaur bones. And so this led to one of the prominent sites that you'll read about in the book called Dinosaur Provincial Park. This is one of the richest dinosaur sites in the world. About 5% of all known dinosaurs are found in this one little spot. And we find some incredible things like ankylosaur tail clubs. This one's actually got lesions in the side from where it's been hitting other dinosaurs. Unfortunately for this, we actually had to sacrifice Taylor. He rolled under a fence as we were getting to site and found the only cactus in the vicinity. But it's worth it. It was a very cool fossil. Sorry, Taylor. We also find some beautiful tyrannosaur teeth like this, and if you look close enough, you can still see the serrations on the side. And this fossil may not look like much, but this is the horn of a triceratops, or other ceratopsian. So you are stumbling across these fossils on the ground. I think my first day I tripped over a dinosaur femur. There are so many there. So it was a very amazing site to be invited to. And it was also the first place where I really started taking detailed field notes. And this was people who we were digging with, what the site was, what we were finding. And over the years, as I've returned to this site for about 3 or 4 times now, the notes do tend to get progressively more unhinged. So I think from last year at Dinosaur Provincial Park, we didn't really have much new to write. And so I ended up creating this little photo of Phil. He's overlooking one of our sites, and it's ridiculous. This man can ID a bone from about 50 feet away, even if it's the scrappiest little fragment, including this fossil. Does anyone want to take a guess what this is? Silence. Yes, good. This is the direction we had. What do you mean? What are you looking at? This orangey red rim at the bottom is actually the rim of a dinosaur footprint. It's quite large, as you can see. This is from a ceratopsian. So while you read about this archosaur dance floor, as we've nicknamed it in the book, what you won't see is this photogrammetry model that we got to create. So this is hundreds of photos that we have stitched together. This site is about 10 metres by 7 metres. And it shows evidence of the first multi-species herding of dinosaurs that we've ever seen. So basically, when we zoom in, there's an ankylosaur trackway here, and then next to it we've got a ceratopsian trackway, and then further up the site we've got 2 tyrannosaur tracks.
Wow.
And so we think that these ceratopsians and ankylosaurs were herding together for protection, a behaviour that's not ever been seen before. So again, very cool to go from just kind of going on a dig and seeing what would happen to being invited on some pretty incredible research projects like this. Now, Phil is not the only person at Dinosaur Provincial Park. He did get married there. He met his wife there. He's had a lot of milestones there. But we have a whole, again, not a shoe in sight. But we have a whole team of us who work here, and each year we bring a bunch of students from the University of Reading to Canada to learn field skills. This is led partly by Sarah. She's doing her PhD on the trackways of the park. Izzy has just finished her master's studying ankylosaur brains. And Brian is an ecologist, but he's recently been looking at this bright orange lichen that grows on dinosaur bones. He's been using remote sensing and drones to try and find new sites based on this lichen. So an incredibly interdisciplinary team. Brian has been incredible to me as a mentor as well. One memory first, he came over to Australia a few years ago to help work on this trackway paper. We went to the pub with Phil, and he was so hungover the next day that he missed his hotel checkout, missed a meeting with our collaborators, Michael Wentry, who was doing our photogrammetry. Yeah, whoops. And then he and Phil proceeded to fall asleep under a tree on the uni campus. So professionals all the way. Welcome to paleontology. Now Brian has also been a great supporter of my work with Found a Fossil. When he heard that I would love to come over and speak at some different universities and see some museums, he organised the trip with the University of Reading. We found out that we got the grant the week before I flew out, so it was a bit of a panic trying to book flights. But it happened that this visit lined up with a panel at the Natural History Museum about fossil protection, so I was invited to contribute and ended up being the only female on the panel. So representative. Now, since that first thing, I've been able to go to some amazing places around the world. Grand Prairie in Canada is another amazing Cretaceous dinosaur site. This was our daily commute. This is deep in bear country as well. So the first message that I got from Nic Campione, another UNE professor, was, "Don't worry, Sally, you don't need to bring a machete. We've already got one." Now, it's very sweet because Nic and Phil are best friends. They both work at UNE. They are in a band together. And they also run a dinosaur dig in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, which I was very lucky to be able to go on last year. The research we were doing there was looking at fossil poaching and how we can help to prevent it into the future. Because Mongolia not only is home to the Velociraptor, but it is home to some incredible fossils such as this Oviraptor sitting on some eggs. It has a relative of the T-Rex called Tarbosaurus in the centre, and we even find dinosaur embryos there. So it's a very special part of the world for dinosaur paleontology. Now, on our own trip there, one of the main highlights was that we found an intact mammal. This looks like a rabbit that you might find, in the bush or in the desert today. This is 70 million years old. So it was very special to find that, and on the second last day of the dig, because it always happens on the last day, Nic discovered a juvenile tarbosaur with gut contents.
Sally, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
He's still wearing shoes.
Not my choice, not my choice.
Sorry.
He wasn't happy about it. I think they were off before this photo.
Okay.
Yeah. It's also quite cold in Mongolia, so yeah, sometimes. But yes, you can see these two paleo dads holding hands with their small child of the mammal, which is inside that little white jacket behind them. And so yes, later this year we'll be heading back to Mongolia to try and find the rest of that Tyrannosaur and hopefully make some new discoveries as well. Now, a little bit closer to home, I've also been able to work at dinosaur sites in Inverloch in Victoria. Not many people know that we have dinosaurs in this spot, It's a very nice office to have of the day. And this is with the team called Dinosaur Dreaming, and they are the longest running dinosaur dig in Australia. They've been running for about 40 years, and the people who started it 40 years ago are still the people who run it today. So Leslie Cool, she's one of the main players. She is a turtle expert. She very much loves that we find dinosaurs, and she was very embarrassed when we pulled out 18 Cretaceous turtles in 2 weeks when we were there in February. Some of the other main players are people like Mary, this lady. She's 86 years old. We have to climb down about 100 steps to get to this site. She does it every day, makes her own way. She is deadly with a geohammer and is one of our best fossil finders. I think our oldest member for Dinosaur Dreaming is Alan, he's 96. So paleontology is very much a community effort for everyone. Exactly, they know stuff, they know what to look for. Dinosaur Dreaming has also been an incredible community for the younger generation of paleontologists. So you'll see in this photo on the right, this is Adele Pentland. She is Australia's pterosaur expert. She's already named 2 species, and she's only a few years older than me. This is us cosplaying some characters from Jurassic Park, which we tend to do on pretty much every dig that we're on. And a lot of these digs have come about because I have sent a cold email to someone saying, hey, if you ever have a dig, can I come? That's how I got on with Dinosaur Dreaming, and I've now been working with them to promote their public engagement programs for the last 2 years. It's also how about 6 weeks ago I found myself 40 metres underground in Cathedral Cave at Wellington looking for 100,000-year-old megafauna fossils. So if you do want to be a paleontologist and come on these digs, just ask, and you'll never know what might come of it. Now, a very special part of working with these teams is, yes, we have all the scientists, but we also have an incredible community of artists who work with us. So for Dinosaur Dreaming, we have Zev Landers, who is a cartoonist. He comes with us on all the digs. He draws us, he draws the dinosaurs we find. And he has introduced me to a bunch of other incredible paleo artists who you will see featured in the book. So you might have seen some of Mellie's work in the picture frames on the different fossil tables. She is an incredible artist. She does take stuff for sale, so jump on her website. But she created, I think, 5 different pieces for the book. M. Herbert created this beautiful pachycephalosaur, which is my favourite dinosaur, thanks for asking, in the colours of a blue wren. Rory Duncan created the Parasnorkelus. You have to read the book to get the joke, but you'll find it. And of course, my tattoo artist, Ali Choi, who designed the cover of the book. She was incredible because CSIRO had sent me a mock-up of their cover and I just wasn't feeling it. It was fine, but it wasn't it. So even though I'd said to them, like, yeah, I guess I accept it, 3 days later I went back to them and said, no, I hate it, please let me change it. So I contacted Ali within 4 days. She had delivered this beautiful cover for me. And yes, continues to decorate my body as well. Now, I also have to say a big thank you to the Future Students team here at Macquarie. I am not a paleontologist full-time, I cannot afford to be. So luckily the Future Students team, originally as a student ambassador and now working in sort of the booking area of the team, means that I can actually make money to go on these digs. And they are incredibly flexible and forgiving when I take off yet again on another dig, and then get to leave progressively more unhinged out of office emails. Now, this career has led to some pretty strange opportunities which I never would have thought were part of being a paleontologist. From speaking at Sydney Comedy Festival, being featured in New Idea magazine, speaking on Sky News about dinosaur poo, not quite on my bingo card, but a very fun experience to have. Even working with fashion brands like Sook Workwear, who sent me a whole bunch of clothing before I went on my Mongolia dig. And you can see yet again in the centre, I am cosplaying Ellie Sattler from Jurassic Park. It's a theme. Now, a big part of the raising awareness I do is working with schools and students. I try and count every single person that I talk to, usually in bigger crowds. So now I'll be able to add 80 to this number. But since starting Found a Fossil in 2021, I've now surpassed talking to about 11,000 people. So hopefully that's going to be, I don't know if it's 11,000, but at least a few more fossils that are going to be preserved and protected into the future. Now, a pivotal person who has supported a lot of this outreach work that I do is yet another Macquarie alumni, Marissa Betts. She is also now at UNE, and this photo was taken, you've got Glenn in the corner as well. This was in the Flinders Ranges where we first met, and this trip was known as the time when John, who is next to Marissa, got chased by an angry emu, and pretty much everyone got COVID. Yeah, not great. We were quite isolated, so that was fun. But Marissa is an absolute champion for women and for students. A few months ago, she sent me an email saying, hey, there's this scholarship that's come up. I think your research would apply. Just give it a go. And so I did. I sent in an application, and I was very happy when it went through the local rounds, then the district, and then somehow made it to internationals. And then I was awarded one of 16 global positions for the Zonta International Women in STEM Award, which is valued at about $10,000 US. So the hope is that this money will not only go towards funding the next Dinosaur Deep, but also that I can take my Found a Fossil Roadshow to some of these rural schools that could never be able to afford these kind of programs otherwise. My hope isn't to convert everyone into paleontologists, but even if a young kid can see that, hey, being a scientist, moving away from home, going to university, maybe that's something I can do too, that's the main aim. Now, as Veronica mentioned, I didn't have that many role model scientists myself when I was younger. So over the last few years, it's been an absolute privilege to build my network of female scientists. There's a few of you in this room in this picture. From some of my best friends to my superstars of STEM family to Veronica to people I've worked with around the world. It's been an absolute honour to be in your presence, and you also inspire me every single day. But I think the main role models I need to talk about also in this room is my family. So many of you are here tonight. Firstly to my sister, manning the bar, most important job of the night. Only person I know is an RSA. So thank you so much for that. But I could write a book on how much I have to thank you for. You were there when Found a Fossil was being formed. You came up with the name, Found a Fossil. I'm pretty sure we had it as a placeholder, and I'm like, damn, that's actually pretty good. What is that? You were the very first person to read Found a Fossil as well before it was published. You left some very helpful comments like, no. That is the longest sentence I've ever read.
It was.
You are such a pioneer. You are an independent woman. You started your own business from the age of 18, and so you have always been such a role model for me to look up to when I've been doing the same. And the other biggest role model in the room, arguably the most impressive person out of all of the scientists, farmers, photographers, everyone, is my mum. It was you the book was dedicated to, and I think I told you I had a long debate if I could get away with calling you a fossil. I'm not getting disowned, so we're still here, so it must have worked. But you always told Emily and I about the adventures you had going overseas. You were a pilot, you ran the farm by yourself for so many years, you raised us by yourself for so many years. And you've just been such an adventurous spirit. In the last few years, you have become a free diver, so you can swim with us with whales. In the last 6 months, you've become a scuba diver, so you can swim with sharks. And you are just one of the coolest ladies I've ever met. And so you have absolutely no one to blame but yourself for why I want to go on so many adventures to follow in your footsteps. Now, the last thank you, almost, has to go to the love of my life. Meeting you has probably been the greatest adventure of my entire life. We have been able to travel to some incredible places. We've started our own talk called Space and Dinosaurs. Jack is one of the astrophysicists in the room. You've always been my biggest cheerleader, and I think more importantly, you make sure I actually slow down and enjoy the celebrations and milestones when they come up. You are probably the person who got this book over the line. There was always many nights where you had chocolate ready, my Jurassic Park Udi, and lots of forehead kisses for when I overloaded myself and I committed to 17 different speaking events while I also had a writing deadline. This wouldn't have happened without you. And I think the biggest thank you is for driving me to the airport about 23 times. Yet another dinosaur here. So thank you so much, and I love you so much. Now, speaking of all of these different adventures, what's next? So I'm terrible at keeping secrets, so I'm not going to say this is on the down low, but I have been approved to write book number 2! So continuing to work with Melinda at the CSIRO team, we are now going to start work on a kids book. It'll be fully illustrated for, I think, 8 to 12-year-olds. That's as far as we've gotten. So I have no more details for you, but coming out probably 2028. So that's going to keep me busy for a little while. Another very exciting development is that in the last few weeks I had a travel company contact me saying, hey, we want to start leading some trips in Mongolia related to doing fossil trips. We need a host. Are you interested? So in August next year, to tie in with my Mongolia fieldwork, I'm going to be leading a trip around Mongolia. Hopefully more digs. So my very last thank you again has to go to every single person in this room. Found a Fossil was always about connecting with the public, with the people who are finding fossils, with the people who can share this beyond the room. And so thank you so much for coming tonight, for supporting Australian science and for supporting me as well. This has been a very exciting milestone to share with you all, and so thank you so much for coming.